Hey everybody, this is Paul Eston Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, and we got a very special guest joining us. That's DJ Bien-Aime. He is the New York Jets reporter for the New York Daily News. DJ, this is your second time on the show. Welcome back, my man.
I appreciate you having me back on. There's more to talk about now, since from the first time we talked. So
Well, that's true. So let's dive in. First off, the thing I kept seeing with OTAs, you guys got your first crack as the media to kind of see OTAs with the New York Jets. And the thing I kept hearing from Saleh and a bunch of you guys on the beat was the live arm of one Zach Wilson. Some people said they could hear it whistling. It's almost like if you pick up the seashell on the beach, if you put it up, you can hear the ocean. You can hear little Zach Wilson throwing around the pigskin. Give us the deets, man.
so I won't go that far. You can hear the ball whistling, but the arm is live though. Like there's velocity on his throws, so those things stood out for sure. He seemed really comfortable yesterday. Granted, that was the third day of OTA, so I wanted to see how he looked in day 1, 2, and then because he said that he just was more comfortable by the end of OTA, so that may have been just being more comfortable, knowing what to expect, knowing what you're going to see, things of that nature. But again, he looked comfortable. He made some good throws. Granted, it's in shorts and things like that, but the velocity was there. He looked comfortable. He looked like he was under control, had command. But again, it's only June, so we'll see when bullets really fly. Late July, training camp, getting ready for preseason. But as I wrote in my article, good first day, good opening impression. And let's just see where everything else lies.
And speaking of your articles, one of the ones you wrote shortly after the draft was that Zach Wilson is a film junkie. When you guys spoke with Mike LaFleur, he mentioned that again, as you tweeted out, a film junkie. And maybe that's potentially helping him with, how quickly he seems to be picking things up and maybe why he looks so, some beat reporters are suggesting that he looked like he belonged out there, even though that was your guys' first crack at seeing him with the media. It must be that film junkie thing that you told us. We were listening to DJ Bien-Aime articles. That's something you told us a long time ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That probably has something to do with it. Because that seems that that's just his nature to just be diving into the film, learning as much as he possibly can. So that probably I obviously helped out. And I just think Michael Floor calling some good plays for him. They were mixing in some play action, things of that nature. And he was doing really well in those situations. He looked good at 7-on, but most quarterbacks look good on 7-on for the most part. But I really, it was a good first day. Like I won't oversell it, I won't undersell it. It was a pretty good day overall, and I think for sure that film study and that preparation had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, DJ, you are a great follow on social media. If anyone's not following you, they should stop what they're doing right now and smack the follow button because you were doing some reporting. Keelan Cole, the Jets got him. It was a move that didn't get a lot of fanfare. They're like, okay, pass the biscuits. But Keelan Cole, and it kind of highlights the depth of the wide receiver position. Some guys were out for the Jets, but Keelan Cole was there. It seemed like he had a connection with Zach Wilson. And as you put it, they were cooking out there. Give us a taste.
Yeah, Keelan Cole was getting open a lot. He caught one of Zach Wilson's deep balls, and then put a move on, got upfield. He caught like a stop route. He was doing really, like he was like standing out of all the receivers that were there that were practicing. I think that day you had Cole, you had Elijah Moore, you had Braxton Berrios, you had some other guys. Denzel Mims wasn't there. Corey wasn't there. I think Corey was dealing with an injury. A shoulder injury, which they say he's fine now. Who else? And Jamison Crowder wasn't there. He doesn't have to be there, but Cole took advantage of those reps and those opportunities, and he made the most out of it, and he made some plays, and he stood out yesterday for sure out of most of the receivers. I know Braxton made a couple of catches too, but for sure, Cole was really doing his thing out there. I'll give him his credit.
Let's get into a little speculation. So, you can tell me whether it's a big deal or not a big deal. So, Jamison Crowder's not there. Again, it's voluntary. None of these players have to be there. But, when Jamison Crowder's not there, it's hard for a lot of us not to have a little voice in the back of our head saying, They drafted Elijah Moore. They got Keelan Cole. They have Denzel Mims. They got Corey Davis. Jamison Crowder maybe look at the situation and say, where the heck do I fit in? Because Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they seem to say, yes, he clearly has a role on this team. But does he? Do you think there's any energy, any emotions there from Crowder that's maybe, well, screw this, I'm not showing up to OTAs or anything until I have to?
Nah, I think it's just more like he's a veteran, and he really doesn't have to show up to OTAs, to be honest. Obviously he probably showed up to mandatory because it is mandatory. But again, I mean he out of all the receivers for the Jets, he's the only one that's like proven for it, like it's been proven with the Jets. Granted, Corey Davis is quote unquote proven too, but he hasn't done anything with the Jets yet. Jamison Crowder has. When he's healthy, he makes plays. So it's probably just his mindset, like, when it's time for me to show up, I'll show up. But yeah, he's been, I mean, I don't think he doesn't have to be out there, to be honest. He's gonna do his thing regardless. So we'll see if he's there mandatory. He probably will be there. And then when what really matters is training camp. At the end of the day, all of this is just fluff and hoopla. It just comes down to training camp at the end of the day. So yeah, I wouldn't look too much. I wouldn't look too much into that. It's just veteran working out his own time. When it's time for him to show up, he'll show up.
And let's just dive into that deeper. So the Jets, if they wanted to, could move on from Jamison Crowder and save $10+ million as Crowder's in the last year of his deal. He's been the leading receiver for the Jets over the last 2 years. What's your gut say, DJ? Is he on the roster week one? Is he a guy that the Jets could look to move? Or do they keep him? Because as you said, for as much as all the cool new toys on the offense, he's been reliable. He's been consistent. He's been proven.
Yeah, I think so. I think, in my opinion, it comes down to how good Elijah Moore and Keenan. Because I think Keenan's playing outside in slot, but I think Elijah's going to be specifically in the slot. I think it'll come down to how good does Elijah Moore look in this in training camp. Because if he's lighting it up, then that kind of now you have that situation where do you want to keep Crowder and take away reps from Elijah Moore, or do you want to just go with Elijah Moore and build for the future? So that's I think more what it comes down to. So if I had to guess, I think Crowder will be on the roster. I could be wrong, obviously, but I think Crowder will be on the roster. Joe Douglas said they want to keep him, and I just think very highly of him, of Jamison Crowder. And as I said, right now he's the best slot on the team. Elijah Moore may have a greater upside, because this is kind of what Jamison Crowder is, but right now he's arguably like the best or second best, at worst the second best receiver on the team. So it's kind of hard for me to envision them moving off of him, but it could happen based on how well Elijah Moore or even Keelan Cole play, because Keelan Cole can also play the slot. So it just comes down to how well those two play in during training camp, in my opinion.
Again, we're still with DJ Bien-Aime. He is the New York Jets reporter for the New York Daily News. And DJ, you can give an unbiased take because, as we talked about the last time, and as people should know by now, you're a Miami Dolphins fan, and so you could bring kind of a neutral perspective to the Jets. So Corey Davis gets injured apparently during OTAs. It doesn't seem like it's serious, but it does say in the past that, if this injury would have happened regardless of the severity level, the Jets would be screwed because they have no depth. But this year it seems like they have depth. From your perspective, and I know you've been doing some of these polls and conversations on social media, how good is the Jets wide receiving core compared to the rest of the AFC East?
So I think obviously Buffalo has the best, because so the argument was like, how deep are they, right?
Yeah.
And it was getting down to like, our fifth is better than your fifth. But how often does the fifth receiver decide the game? Rarely does like, oh, my fifth receiver is going to really decide the game. If your fifth receiver is out there in crucial moments, either your receivers have gotten injured and now you're down to your fifth receiver, or just rotation or whatnot. But for the most part, you should focus on your top 3 to maybe 4, because most teams don't go 10 personnel with 4 receivers. Most time they go 3 receivers. Sometimes they'll go 10, but that's rare. Most time they're going to 11. So it's really like, how good are your top 3, maybe 4. So when I could go look around the AFC East, I think Buffalo has the best because you have Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. That top three is better than anybody else in the AFC East's top three, in my opinion. So then now you argue between the Jets top three versus the Dolphins top three. And that's what things get a little tricky, right? Because you have Devontae Parker versus that's Dolphins right now. That's their best receiver.
Yeah.
And right now, Corey Davis is the Jets' best receiver, or he's being paid to be their best,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's a wash. That's a wash in my opinion. Either way, like, that's a wash. Um, Corey had a better year last year, but Devontae Parker has gone over 1,000 yards before. I think 2019 was like top 5 in receiving yards or top 10 at the worst. So that's
Yeah.
a wash either way. So the number twos, you have Will Fuller versus what Crowder slash Denzel Mims slash Elijah Moore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I'm gonna go Will Fuller over that. I mean, those options. But then it gets tricky because now you're going based off of potential,
Yeah.
right? Because you have Jalen Waddle versus Denzel Mims slash Elijah Moore, and now you're just going off of potential at that point because Waddle hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet. He will obviously, but neither has Moore.
Yeah.
But we've seen some flashes of Denzel Mims. He dealt with some hamstring issues last year, but we've seen some flashes. Some people think he can be, he'll have a jump. I don't know how big the jump will be, but he'll have a jump. So we'll see. Um, so I guess you could say that's also a wash. But then you have again, if you go either Denzel Mims or Elijah Moore, now you're going against the Dolphins fourth, who might be who? Let's think. Lynn Bowden, Preston. It'll be Lynn Bowden slash Preston Williams, and from a talent perspective, Elijah Moore slash Denzel Mims, however you want to flip that, I think I would give them the edge. So I think I would give the Jets an edge in that department, but I think the Dolphins' upside in terms of receiving core is a little bit higher because again, you have Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle, two of the most explosive players in the NFL. These most explosive player for the Jets and receiving core will probably be Elijah Moore. Jalen Waddle was billed as the most explosive player in his class. Will Fuller is running 4.3. Granted, Elijah Moore has run a 4.3 too, so he can fly also. So again, I still would give the Jets the slight edge.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins, I think, have more upside in terms of like just being explosive because they have a lot of guys. You get the ball in their hands, they can do things. Whether it's Jakeem Grant, even though he's not really a great receiver by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a great punt returner, great kick returner. So you get the ball in the hand. Lynn Bowden from his Kentucky film, if you get the ball in his hand, he can really do damage. So yeah, so right now I would give the Jets the edge in terms of depth. But yeah, so I think the Jets right now are probably like second with like Miami like nipping at the heels, or you can say they're tied. But
Yeah.
Buffalo for sure number one because like none of those teams have a Stephon Diggs. So if you don't have a Stephon Diggs, you know what I'm saying. I don't care how quote unquote deep your receiving core is when you have Stephon Diggs who can account for like two receivers. You know what I'm saying? And they got Cole Beasley and they got Emmanuel Sanders. So and I think Cole Beasley was like all pro last year, second team, I believe. I
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
yeah.
So no, 100%. I agree with you. I think the Jet fans who are saying the other are just drinking a little too much of the Kool-Aid. Stephon Diggs, proven bona fide number one wide receiver, needs that credit. Let's go to another debate that's happening in Jets world. And DJ, I got to give you credit because if people didn't listen to the Robert Saleh interview, you were the one who asked the cornerback question. So thank you. That led to a lot of articles, and I appreciate that. But let's get into that cornerback thing because it seems like you and Saleh are on the same page. Saleh, when you asked him about kind of the cornerback situation, he seemed cool riding with the young pups, and then you gave him a follow-up about potentially adding a veteran. He didn't rule it out, but he said, yeah, maybe later down the line, maybe. But right now we're worrying about the young pups on the roster. It's a bold strategy. I mean, you got to respect the heck out of Robert Saleh for pulling this off. But I mean, this Jets secondary's got a lot of inexperience. Like the most experienced Jets corner on the roster is Justin Hardy, and he's not even really going to play corner, and he's entering year number 5. So, DJ, I think I know where you lean. You're leaning towards, hey, ride the young pups. Is that right?
Yeah, most definitely. Because there's no so me and Brian Costello, we talked a little bit about it at practice yesterday, and I talked a little bit with Rich Simini, and we all were just just chatting it up. But I mean, I would go in with, I mean, just go with the group that you got because there's no veteran out there that's going to make a significant impact. However, their point was you get a veteran in that's been around the block because, cornerbacks always get hurt like that. That's one position everybody gets hurt, whether it's like a hamstring, groin, ACL, whatever it is. The quarterback group, like depth is very, very important because you don't want, how we talked about, like if your fifth receiver is out there, you're in trouble. You might be in trouble. If your fifth corner is out there, you're done. So I think that I get okay, yeah, let get a veteran in there. But me, I would lean towards, I see the point, but I would just lean towards riding it out with the guys that you got because there's no veteran out there that's really going to make an impact except take reps away from your young pups that you want to develop. Like who is out there besides Richard Sherman who's not gonna come because of he wants to win a ring. He already said he only has 2 more years, so he wants to be on a contender. So that I get that, you know what I'm saying? Granted, like if you would have to basically overpay to get Richard Sherman in, and then he's 33, 2 more years left that he as he already stated. And then who else is out there? Like
Steven Nelson, I guess.
But like the Steelers let him go and nobody else has picked him up. So everybody that you bring in is going to be flawed in some aspect. Obviously, I don't think the Jets are going to bring back Brian Poole because obviously, like there's been a lot of time since the end of the season, and there's been nothing, no traction, nothing. So I would go with the young guys, and just hope that your defensive line can. Because that's why I wrote the article that the defensive line better bring it, because they're basically going to have to carry the defense this year. Because you don't know what you're going to get from CJ Mosley. Yes, he's back on the field. Yes, he did look slightly good yesterday, but again, no pads, no nothing. So he has to still, show something, you know what I'm saying? So that he's healthy and closer back to that Baltimore form. We still got to see what the linebackers, rest of the linebacking core looks like. Obviously, you got Marcus Maye, and they're still working on that contract situation. But again, like, I mean, who is going to, be out there that's really going to make a difference for the Jets at corner, to be honest? Like maybe Bryce Hall can take a step forward. Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see what, if Bless Austin can continue to develop. Again, we'll see about that. We'll see what Lamar Jackson, with his development. Like he's going from year 1 to year 2. And then you got those rookies that you brought in. Whether Michael Carter II or Jason Pinnock or who's the other guy? Brandon from
Brandon Eccles. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So and you guys are done out of Oregon State. That's you know what I'm saying. Who from my recollection, I think he made a play yesterday on a deep ball. So we'll see what that looks like. But again, that's what I've been thinking. Like, who is gonna be out that's gonna make a significant difference? I think it's more you get the name and then everybody feels comfortable, but that guy probably won't be that much of an improvement over the guys that you already have on the roster. At this point, if you're gonna bring somebody in, like that's kind of what you want. You want someone that can really like, improve significantly the room. But I do understand like bringing in a veteran presence because that veteran presence will be able to hold everything down.
Yeah, this is the thing that's scary as hell because here are the stats from last year. Last season, the Jets allowed the 5th most passing yards in the NFL, over 4,400 yards. They allowed the 3rd most touchdowns, 34 touchdowns allowed in their pass defense. And opposing quarterbacks had a 105.6 QBR against the Jets. That was the 4th highest in the NFL. Those are all next-gen stats. So that's the thing I think that scares the hell out of all of us. And it's to your point. You just mentioned it, and that's brilliant. That defensive line better bring it because if they do, in theory, yeah, the corners, me and you could be playing. Well, you probably more so than me, but I mean, both of us could be playing corner out there. It's not going to matter. Lawson, Quinnen, Vinny, and John Franklin Myers, and everybody could be rushing up front, and the corners can be, less talented, and it won't matter because they get there that quick. Although, if that pass rush doesn't get there, because that's like the bread and butter of this Robert Saleh scheme is getting up there up front. If they don't, it doesn't matter if Darrelle Revis Prime is playing back there. A corner can only cover for so long. And again, that's going to be the key. Saleh trusted his scheme. Like I said, I think it's ballsy, bold strategy. Cotton, let's see if it plays off ultimately down the line there for the Jets. Let's get a couple other quickies here before we get you out of here, DJ. First off, Marcus Maye, you mentioned it. Obviously, he's not there. He's in the middle of a contract negotiation. Why would he be there? But what's your sense? I mean, that deadline is July 15th. There's some people that say Marcus has already signed his franchise tender, so the Jets should be in no rush to try to bring him in. But the other side is Joe Douglas has said he wants to build this thing through the draft guys, retain guys, and re-sign them. And there's technically Marcus Maye is the only player on this entire roster that was drafted by the team and has received a second contract. And I use that in quotations because it's a franchise tag right now. But no other player's been drafted on this team by this team and has received a second contract. So I mean, I don't even think it's just about signing Maye here. It's about sending a message to the rest of the league that, hey, if you play well here, you'll be rewarded. So what's your take? Do you think the Jets and Maye can hammer out a long-term extension by July 15th?
Probably not. I would go probably not. That's just a guess. Like I'm not.
Yeah, sure.
There's no. I mean, I just don't see. Cause I feel like if it would have got, maybe. I mean, they're working on it. So when you say long term, I'm thinking like maybe 3, 4, or 5 years. But maybe they could do like a 2-year deal or something like that.
And he's older. I mean, that's the other thing. He's like 28, so he's an older rookie, or not a rookie, but he's an older youngster heading into that second contract. I'm sure the Jets don't want to hand him some long-term deal too crazy into the future.
Right. Well, yeah. So I think from my perspective, I don't think that they'll get a deal done. But they could. But I mean, I think by July 15th, I think maybe next year they may be able to hammer something out. But the franchise tag is there, and at the end of the day, it just can always fall back onto that. So I don't envision like Marcus Maye sitting out. You know what I'm saying? Pulling like a Le'Veon Bell or something like that, what he did with the Steelers. But my guess, I don't think it would happen, but we'll see though. It's just me guessing, no inside information. Yeah. But just me taking a guess.
All right, and then CJ Mosley. What are expectations? This guy hasn't played in 2 years. I mean, like, he played parts of 2 games that first year with the Jets in 2019, looked great in that first part against the Bills, and then he opted out last year. So what should fair expectations be for Mosley this year for a guy we haven't seen in 2 years?
Expectations?
Yeah. Some people are saying he should go back to all-pro form. Some people think he's going to suck and just should trade him for nothing. And some people think he'll be average, which maybe that'll be good. I don't know.
I think he'll be good. But those 2 years, I mean, like, that's just me guessing. I mean, the people that say average are probably correct because he hasn't played football for 2 years. So, like, you can't expect someone that played football for 2 years and then become like all pro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's tough. Like that's a tough ask. But I think around good, for sure good. I think it'll be good. Cause I mean, I just don't believe that you could be as good as he was in Baltimore and then like just forget how to play football. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it'll be good. Pro Bowl level, I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? So like like that's a lot to ask, and
sure.
that'd be unfair for CJ for me to be like, oh yeah, he should be a Pro Bowl player. That'd be unfair to ask, but yeah, I think for sure I think my expectation is that he'll be good again. That's why I always say if he can get close to that level of being or where he was in Baltimore, then I'd be a major boost for the Jets. So.
And we were on the same page, by the way, on another thing. Speaking of the linebackers, Hamza Nasruddin, at rookie minicamps, when they were, the Jets released a video on someone else, I saw Hamza there, and I'm like, oh my God, that guy's a hulking human being. Look at the size of that guy. I saw you yesterday on Twitter say the same thing, that Hamza kid. Wow, he looks like the real deal, man.
Yeah, he is gigantic. But he's not like he's like 6'3", 6'4". Like he's a long 6'3", 6'4". But he's not like 230 or 240. Like he's just like really like long and rangy. That may end up becoming a steal, but we'll see. But yeah, he stands out just from a size perspective. Like you can't miss him. Like he's a massive human being in that sense of just like really standing out. You know what I'm saying? Like he would stick out like a sore thumb if he was on the subway or something like that.
That's right. All right, DJ, before we get you out of here, any other takeaways you had from OTAs that you think is worthy of just bringing up for Jet fans? Again, we get it. It's T-shirts and shorts, but, Jet fans are circling the wagons around this thing because they're so fascinated because this is kind of their first inside look, especially with an additional media perspective. So did you have any other takeaways that jumped out to you?
No, nothing else for the most part. All eyes on the quarterback. I did see Tevin Coleman was getting some first team reps, but but that wasn't really like again it's like I don't really do depth charts for running backs until like training camp anyway. So, but yeah, so far, um, that's about it for the most part. Everything we discussed,
Okay.
um, Zach looked good. You know what I'm saying? I'll give him his credit. He looked good. But that's about it for the most part.
All right, beautiful. All right, DJ, before we get you out of here, let us know, Jet fans who want to hit you up and read some of your articles. Do you have anything coming up on the docket, man?
Yeah, I have a feature coming out on Brandon. My feature coming out on Brandon. That'll be out by Monday. No later than Monday. I'm working on it right now. That's what I'm working on, and then I might get creative next week with another piece, but that one might be hard to swing the pieces together. I won't reveal too much on that one. That one might be a little bit hard, but I'm gonna try to get creative with that one. That one might be an interesting read. Um, but yeah, that's what I have planned. And then obviously OTAs is next week again. We will there's another one that will be attending, but obviously we're not allowed to report that until like the day of, so I can't tell you which day it'll be, but we'll be out there again next week. And
And
then
no
man,
videos, is that right? I know a lot of fans were asking about that. So you guys aren't allowed to do videos, or what's the rule with that?
so videos, it's just whenever they're like cameras down, cameras up, like I think individual we can do cameras, but once they go into team perspective, like schematics, when they get into schematical things, we're not allowed to do that. For whatever reason, they
Oh,
just
okay.
that's it. But individuals, we can't, so always remember, like if we could record the whole thing, we would.
Yeah, of
So
course. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, to get that content out on social. Well, DJ, you've been on fire, man. You are the guy in the beat that everyone is in love with right now for good reason. You're pumping out content left and right. As always, man. Thanks again for joining us.
no problem. Thank you for having me on.